related. The environment, water management, water quality, farming, history and culture, public events, recreation, Delta food, and the arts. Tune into Delta Flows on KXVS, the voice of Stockton, streaming live on Facebook and YouTube at KXVS Radio.
This is Tom Patti, a San Joaquin County supervisor. Join us weekly for our local reality show. We talk about all things local, political, current, and real. Join us on KXVS, the voice of Stockton. Catch us at KXVS Radio or at thevoiceofstockton.org.
KXVS, the voice of Stockton, live. The voice of Stockton at Stone Soup Studio. KXVS.org.
The views and opinions expressed in the following program do not necessarily reflect those of KXVS, the voice of Stockton, or its parents, affiliates, management, and staff.
KXVS, the voice of Stockton. It's time for the Tom Patti Reality Show with your host, Tom Patti.
Thank you, as always, Governor Don, for that introduction. And we almost got on air without the disclaimer, so we squeezed that in real quick. I always love that before I do a radio show, there's a disclaimer.
You know, Supervisor, we have it on all the shows.
I know, but I just feel like as if it's like in particular because of maybe politics or something, that it's, for certain to be included as a lead into my show.
Yes, sir.
Ted, your mic's not on.
It's on now. Go ahead, Ted.
And considering that we have two comedians as our guests, we may be repeating that disclaimer multiple times during the course of this particular broadcast.
That is true. And by the way, Ted, I'm looking at the monitor, and you're nowhere to be found. Are you in a phantom? Are you off-site? Are you calling in? Are you somewhere remote?
Well, you know how you've been hearing a lot about deep state and the secret societies and government, like a government within government. I am the shadowy presence that's there, but not there in that you can see. I operate so behind the scenes, even people behind the scenes don't know that I'm there.
So like Batman.
Either that, or are you wearing that yellow and purple tie and you decided not to show up again?
Well, we have comedians, and I didn't want to upstage them by looking ridiculous. I didn't want to take their thunder. I didn't want to take the spotlight off of them.
Got it. Well, welcome, Ted. Glad you're here, phantom or not. This is the Tom Patti Reality Show, and yeah, so we got a great show. We got a couple of fantastic guests in studio. We're going to be talking comedy, entertainment, business challenges, and what it takes to persevere. Not a lot of people realize. I think just people have a natural presence or a natural talent to get up on stage and perform, but that's not really not the case. It's not at all. So we'll check into that in a minute. So this last week, I had a great opportunity to have, it's been on Facebook and social media, and it was in the newspaper, but it took several months to arrange and have a local athletic superstar, Aaron Judge, a product of Linden High School and our education system locally, and so he was in town. The New York Yankees slugger was here, man.
Yeah,
so we honored him. We gave him a nice recognition and a proclamation, and had a chance to meet him. And what a humble young man, wonderful mother and father, and his support network, his little entourage, as you can imagine, somebody might start to gather, were a bunch of gals, probably in their 50s and 60s, were the mother's friends. And she's the teacher, and so was Wayne and Patti Judge. They're both teachers in Stockton and San Joaquin County. And so it was just really humble, sweet fella. Everything he said, any recognition, if anybody praised anything, the first words out of his mouth is, honestly, all credit goes to my teammates, and it's it's a team effort to get where I got. So you just saw that truly humble and very grounded, very impressive young man.
Now, how long was he at the Chambers? And I believe you did meet with him.
Yeah, well, we brought him up a little early. And he came into my office and hung out. He handed him a sack of balls to sign. I said, "Do you mind?" He goes, "Not at all." So he signed a whole bunch of them, and I was able to give them out to all the supervisors and a few other people. So it's just was great, man. We hung out and chatted, and you know, since I have a little bit of a back history in New York in sports in particular, I just shared with him some of the pitfalls, and you know, he didn't know that Tyson and I were closely associated, so he was asking a little bit about that, and I had, you know, a bit of information based on Mike's storied career, some of the things to avoid, and you know, I told him, listen, fast money in is fast money out. I said, if somebody tells you, one of your friends comes along and says, I want to start a record label, run the other way.
You said,
I did. I said, there's no fast money. I said, it's going to be, you got to work hard, and it's it's work steady and put together a long-term plan. I said, and there comes a point where you're 35 years old. And your sports career, I said, God willing, you got a long, illustrious career. But, you know, a lot of athletes at 35 years old, you're done.
Yeah.
You said this to him?
Yeah. Well, I said, yeah, okay. I totally said, I said, you're done. What's the next phase? I said, you have to have the next phase of your life. What's planned? What are you doing? How are you involved in your community? What are you doing that's rewarding in your life? So I squeezed in a lot of information to share with him, but just all good grounded with his mom and dad present.
Right. So you basically set him up to replace Chuck Wynn after his Yankees career.
It is his district.
That's what I'm saying. It's District 4, so he could run for that seat after after he wins multiple World Series championships. He'll return to Linden and run for office.
And I hope he wins them as either a San Francisco Giant or the New York Yankees, where he currently is. So he's not with the Yankees, then let him come over to the Bay Area where it would be home.
Well, that would be great.
Preferably Giants.
I
Keep it local.
With you,
Keep it
absolutely.
local.
Now let me introduce our guest. We have Marcelis Flores.
Well, let me introduce our guest.
Okay, go ahead.
No, go ahead. You started.
Thank you for the introduction.
Marcelis Flores, you have a radio show here in the morning. You're one half of the Rise and Shine program.
Yes.
And you're local based, and your friend is
Nick Larson. Nick Larson, I decided to bring him in because we do a lot of the same things. There are monthly shows. If I'm not mistaken, yours is monthly at the
Deliberation room. Downtown.
And I'm at the Ave, and we do close work together, and this is one of my comedy buddies. So,
You say, what do I call him? Comedy?
comedy buddies. We say
Comedy
real
buddies.
close and do a lot of work together, and I love to have him on my shows. He loves to have me on his shows, and we do a lot of positive work out here in Stockton, California.
Try to bring some comedy to 209, to the Stockton area,
Oh, yeah.
you know.
So what's the schedule? When are the shows that people might be able to catch? Like you mentioned, you're at Nick. You're at the Deliberation Room.
Deliberation Room
which is a really cool downtown.
Yeah, it's really nice. It's really nice.
establishment.
The next one is going to be February 23rd, and we're going to have a very funny guy named Sam Talent. He's hilarious. He was at the World Series of Comedy, and out of thousands of comics, he came in second. So that's how funny this guy is.
Wow.
You know? But it just... That place just fell in my lap, and I went in there, and it was a beautiful place because you go downtown, you know, and you're like, you don't expect it to be anything great, and you walk in, you're
Doors
like, oh, this
open,
is a palace.
Yeah,
This
doors
is great.
open.
Yeah,
It's nice.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then me, my laughs on the Ave. My next one is February 18th. That is actually my birthday show. Usually, I worked out the deal with the bar where I don't get a busy night. So usually, I'll take a Thursday night, and then I'll run with pretty much the first 2 weeks of that month. I try to pick one of those Thursdays. But this time, it was my birthday show, and I've never had a birthday party. Like, I've always got a birthday cake, birthday presents, but never, like, a gathering for my birthday. So I was like, this is the first, like a birthday party. Like, you know what? Happy birthday! But, you know what I'm saying? All that stuff. So I was like, this is going to be the first one. I was like, I'm going to throw it myself. I've been waiting for this. So I do shows. So I was like, I'm just going to make my comedy show my birthday party.
So wait, now, you're actually excited about this. This isn't a poor childhood story.
No, I'm
Okay.
Plus, I wasn't a poor child. Like, my parents made miracles happen for us, me and my family. So
awesome.
I was never that. We just didn't have birthday parties. They just didn't throw us birthday parties. Maybe it was too much stress to organize a party for us.
Yeah, it's a lot of work.
It is stressful. It is stressful because I have two kids, and their birthdays are both in February, a week from each other. So we have them together. It's a pain in the butt.
Yeah, no, and you try to, of course, the kids and people outdoing each other. I had jump houses, I had petting zoo, I had llamas, I had horses that you ride, the little pony ride and stuff.
Wow.
I mean, you go on and on and on of things to do, and it's after a while, he's like, well, that was $800, that was $1,000.
Yeah, exactly. And they don't even remember it like a week
Yeah,
later.
40 kids back in the front yard, and just like after a while, you're like, you know what, no more. We're just gonna.
I should have rented a pony for my birthday on the Ave, man. You gave me jealous now. We should have had a petting zoo.
You got to rent a llama. You can't have. You got to have a birth. I have a picture with my daughter about to blow out the candles, and I'm like, "Stop! Get the llama!" And so there's all these kids gathered around. You got the llama head floating there. So years from now, you look at the picture, I'm like, "Wait, what is it? Is that a llama?" So,
awesome.
Well, you are absolutely right about that. The Llama is the president of Surprise, and so this Laughs on the Ave February show is a very special one. It is my first birthday party show, and it is on the Sunday. So
and it's what date?
Sunday. It's February 18th.
February 18th.
Correct.
Excellent.
Correct.
I'll make a point to be there. That'll be a lot of fun.
Hey, well, I appreciate it.
So you know what's really interesting is, you know, in my own experience, okay, there's a well-known comic, Brian Regan. Mm-hmm. Now, he's been in the comedy business a long time. I saw that guy probably 28 years ago in New York City at one of the comedy clubs, and he was funny then, actually, too, very funny.
No.
But all of a sudden, you know, you see him, and he came to Stockton once and even twice. I mean, both times I was out of town and missed it. But you just really see this careers, and it's a career of attrition. You're just hanging in there, working small clubs and putting in, like back in the boxing world, you had these, you know, small amateur fights and, you know, smokers, they used to call them, and you're gaining experience before you make it to the bigger stage.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And it really is a lot of dedication, a lot of work. And how often, and both you guys to answer individually, how often are you working new material? Is it constant, or you think you have it and you're just working on your timing?
For me, really, it's if anything comes to me, because I have a lot of family material. I talk a lot about my kids and my relationship. So if something comes up, then I'll write it down and I'll figure out how to work it into a joke instead of just doing a story. But other than that, I've never really been able to just sit down and write. So I just kind of wait for things to come to me. Honestly.
Okay. I'm going to tell you the funniest thing. If I were ever doing stand-up, I'd say this, because when you hire a babysitter, you have kids. When you hire a babysitter, the one thing I can tell you, always have change, because none of those broke babysitters have any change when you come home with a stack of 20s in your hand. If you don't have change, you're giving them a $15 tip.
That's why I got to keep it in the family, man. It's just like, you're going to charge me? You're my mom. What are you talking about?
Now, Marcelis, how about you? Your material, is it always evolving?
Now, yes, it is evolving. That's a great word for it, because I've only been doing it for 3 years. This is going on my 4th year at the end of the year, and like since I started at 19 years old, I was throwing out random stuff that I didn't even go through, just random jokes, and then I started learning how to write different jokes, and then I started learning people laugh at different things, and then I started learning, like, what do people just like naturally about Marcelis Flores that's funny. So then I started adding those into my jokes. So now my jokes just aren't set up punch, just like you could read a joke book and be like, oh, this is entertaining. No, like if you watch me and don't even have noise, like I have jokes that,
it's physical comedy.
Yeah,
working,
that you can they'll be there.
Yeah.
Like that are literally just physical jokes. Like
Right.
the punches are movements.
Right.
Like I can just see him at the club doing boom, and that's a joke. Like I have jokes like that, so I experiment with different things, and as I go on, like I learn I could do more and more. So I was like, oh, I learned I could make them laugh by doing this. Like it's not a punch, but it's like a. And then I'm constantly just learning new ways to work and move around jokes, and just evolution. Yeah, that's what it is. And then I'm maturing on stage. Maturing since I've been doing this at 19. Like the stuff I talk about then and now are so different. You know, I'm really growing on stage as a person and as an individual, and wanting to do clean material and stuff like that, transitioning to clean shows and working on different things. So yeah, a lot of it is that. A lot of it is make believe, because I love to take a fake story and just make a bunch of people believe and laugh at it. It's like a challenge to me, because jokes are, to me, really it's like a magician. You're a magician, you know. It's like you're making them look at this hand, then you hit him with that pow. Right. And it's like, whoa, we didn't even see that.
Where are we going? Yeah.
So you have to be really able to like bring him in and make him believe, and I like that.
So who's the inspiration? And both of you guys answer this separately. I mean, there's comedy out there from. I mean, I used to love watching Sam Kinison. Was crazy and wild. You've got Dice Clay, who's a friend of mine. I know Dice very well. John Lovitz is a very good friend of mine. And I had one chance. I spent the evening in New York City with John Lovitz and Jerry Seinfeld. And we had a great time. It was right at the peak of his career. Nice. And one thing interesting is, and again, I'll get back to you. I want you guys to answer who an inspiration was. But one thing, John wasn't doing stand-up at the time, and he is now. His movie career started to dwindle, and he realized, you know what? I got to diversify. He goes, he likes comedy, so he started working and doing stage. So one thing that John asked and noted to Seinfeld was that a lot of comics are up there and they're angry. they're working out issues, and they got family issues, and they got parent issues, and Jerry's just Jerry shrugs his shoulder, goes, yeah, I don't have any of that, because I'm not up there to. It's not my therapy. I'm not angry at anybody. I just that's not where I'm coming from. I have a good family, and it was just interesting, because some people have I mentioned Sam Kennison. I mean, he's up there, he's just venting and ranting and going on, and it's it's like an exorcism in some sorts.
A lot of Sam was him getting into an accident though and hitting his head. And then after that, he took a turn and he became this angry type comic who's always yelling, you know? So it was a hand injury for him, but everybody else, a lot of people think that like all comics have like this deep darkness about them. Not all of them. Like you mentioned, Jerry. Like some of them come from great homes. They just they're very observatory, and they think that things are funny. Some people are funny without, being dark.
Right.
I would agree with Nick. It's like we all have different, like politics, right?
Sure.
You all have different personalities, but you all do the same thing, but you do them differently. Your style of running politics is different from the next guy, but you respect the next guy because he's doing the same things, but just in a different style. So that's how it is for comics as well. So as far as like looking up to people, I look at stand-up comedy. Let's just keep it in that lane, not the business side, not the other side, not the what you do on your off time. Stand-up comedy, I appreciate and look up to everybody, even the new timer, because we all have different paths and we're working on a craft. Now, as far as who is doing it like moving wise, like business wise, and this wise, and just legends wise, and who's been on top and stuff, I would look towards different people, like a lot of people locally. Nick, I look up towards Nick because Nick is I don't know if you know, but Nick is a dope photographer, and he lets that live in his comedy realm. Like everybody's like, oh, get headshots from this dude. So he's like doing comedy, producing shows, has his podcast, and is in the Deaf Puppies comedy group. That's all positive, whether or not I
was gonna blush today
on his whether or not where he is on stage, that's a whole different thing. But what he does off stage is like, I could look at this dude and respect him for that, and like, bro, your grind is amazing, because we are all different places on stage, But so stand-up comedy, I look up to everybody on stage. Off stage, there are certain people I look up to, specifically how they move and how they make it work for them.
Got it. So I was with I was very good friends at one time with Robert Downey Jr. and Anthony Michael Hall. And Anthony Michael Hall was at one point a big movie star, and Eddie Murphy was a big movie star and started doing stand-up. Yeah. And so I'm backstage with Michael Hall, and Eddie Murphy walks off, and he walks back Anthony Michael Hall, and he says, goes, when are you going to start doing stand-up? It's like an evolution for some performers and some of the entertainers, and not everybody can do it, is my point. Not everybody can stand up. You can be funny, you can do things in movies, doesn't mean you're going to have a great stand-up presence or your comedy's going to work. So not a lot of people are bold enough to get out there and work it. And you think back at comedy, like Bob Hope. They had writers, they had one-line zingers, and they're wonderful, and had a stellar career. But would that work these days? You listen to some of the old Red Fox tapes, and they're kind of like little one-line punch stories. Yeah, and it's different. Where now it seems a lot more fluid. It seems a lot more real life, observatory.
Well, there's still one-liners out there. There's still one. I mean, as long as it evolves with the comic, I believe anything will work. Yeah, funny is funny, regardless. So whether you're doing it long form or you're doing one-liners, as long as it's funny and people are laughing, I would just because it's also a dying breed. The one-liners is a dying breed. So I mean, if people are out there doing one-liners, keep doing that, because we don't need that to go away. If anything that involves being funny, just stick with that. It doesn't matter. But as far as you're all right though, some people just don't have it. Maybe they can't get past the nerves part of it. Maybe they just don't have that mentality. Some people are just funny off stage and they don't know how to translate that to on stage. But it's the same thing that I equate like to photography. Like a good friend of mine said, I could pick up the camera, the same camera that you have, and take the same image as you, and it won't come out like you have it because you just have that eye. I think that's the same way as comedy.
Definitely.
Right. It's for everything, I think, unless it's super simple. But, I mean, certain things that take a certain skill.
Everybody has their own way of dealing with their work, their profession.
Yeah, I would.
So I have one quick question.
Okay.
And is, once upon a time back in school, were you guys considered class clowns? You like to get, what compelled you to go further with this?
I
and
was
do more?
always funny. I always wanted to be. I was always growing up funny. Always trying to be funny. Always people. And still to this day, I'm just me. But people be like, "Oh, you mean Marcelis, the guy who thinks he's always so funny?" You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Get stuff like that.
Right.
But it's just me being me. Like I'm a silly individual, And then I just cater towards that, work out my strengths and weaknesses, and use those on stage, and just work on my weaknesses and know my strengths.
Yeah.
I was not at all. I didn't like getting in trouble. I think I went to detention one time, and I was like, I can't go back here. No, it was like being in jail. I was like, no, never mind. I won't do. So I just waited till like recess to be funny with my friends. It's funny because a lot of people from my high school will see that I do comedy, and they're like, you were super quiet in high school. I can't believe you're a comedian now. Like, oh, you didn't hang out with me. You had to hang out with me. I wasn't funny in class.
Funny.
But they do say it takes a certain type of person to be a comedian. Like, they say our brains work a certain type of way. Like, not just anybody could sit there and be a rocket scientist, You have to have a rocket scientist's mind to...
A DNA of
sort,
yeah.
So it's the same thing with us, because when we're up there on stage, we're telling our jokes, but in reality, we're really in our minds setting up for the next joke, like reading the crowd. So we have this... So we're reading you as we're telling this joke, but we have these set up in the back, and we're choosing from them basically on however you react to this. What I'm saying right now is where I'm gonna pick in the back of my mind, choosing. So every time we're talking to you, what we're really doing is setting up for something next, and we're doing a lot of that in our head, and just a lot of, and that's where the craft is on. So that's
even
why
in regular conversation too. Like even when you guys start, we could have picked out like 3 or 4 jokes just by the things that you said.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's a family show. We wanted to keep it clean. We
the,
didn't say anything. Let's do
being a comedian, you have to control it, because, like people say, Marcelis is always trying to be funny. So knowing that, now that I'm maturing and stuff, it's not about being funny all the time. I know I could do that. So you have to have your situations where you're just like, not funny.
So what's next? How far? What's your 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now in entertainment, in comedy? Is it a local realm where you want to have this great, financially stable comedy club, or you say like, listen, at some point I know I got to make a move, and I'm gonna go to a big city and try to follow this in a bigger way, or don't know at this point, just enjoying what you're doing?
Go ahead, Nick. I'll let you.
I'm 6 years in. So I hope 5 years from now I'm on a TV show or doing movies or something. My aspirations are big. Like,
You realize this is broadcast on YouTube.
Come on,
so
Nick.
you have
Doing it big right now.
So put my information up if anybody is watching. I do private events. If anybody runs a show, I would love to act. But no, that's something that I would really love to do, is be on a TV series or something like that.
Yeah.
Something. That is a good way to get your door or your foot in the door for bigger shows as well. Because as soon as you have TV credits, then you're more likely to get higher paid at a club. So there's certain
Isn't
things,
that the
certain
truth?
steps.
Just if you appear on the Tonight Show, all of a sudden you were the headliner.
Yeah,
it's like
exactly.
You were next to Johnny Carson. You were next
Now,
to Jay Leno.
Do you guys know who Angela
something?
Johnson is? You guys know who Angela Johnson is?
Angela Johnson. Is that
She
the
knows
girl?
who Angela Johnson. Okay,
She's got. They sell sausage sandwiches.
Yeah. So 4 months into Angela Johnson's career, she put up she has a nail bit. You do your nail. She has that nail bit that was super famous. And she started headlining right after that because everybody knew who she was. And at 4 months, you don't really have material. You don't have an hour to fill, So
Right.
that was her kind of like starting ground there. Like, you're going to be 4 years in. I'm 6 years in. I have not done anything that big at 4 months. 4 months I was doing. I don't know if you guys remember Rebels. I was doing Rebels open mic. So that's what we had to do. But it's certain things like that. As soon as people know who you are, you're headlining.
If it pops, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's also, I like your approach where you're working and you're ready. So when you get that chance, you're not over your head. You've got material, you can parlay it, so you're not just a one-trick pony.
Yeah. I mean, I could do it now if I needed to, like, because I do a lot of crowd work.
Yeah.
He and I have similar styles. We're very animated. We do a lot of voices, a lot of hip movements, you know?
We do. I just noticed that. Thank you for noticing my hips.
I'm really good at crowd work, so I could pull out another 10, 15 minutes of just doing crowd work, talking to the audience and coming up with something funny.
Yeah.
You know, so that's like my tool that I have in my belt, because that's how I started. I wasn't doing like jokes. We weren't doing jokes and stuff when we first, decided to be comedians.
No, I did.
It was
I
us.
did. I did.
You were like, were you really?
Yeah, I
would
5 minutes.
I would just be with my friends.
I wrote all the time. I still do.
Before you became a comedian?
Before I became a comedian, before my first open mic, I wrote that 5 minutes, and then I just kept working.
I did too, but when as like a kid, as a teenager.
Oh, yeah, class clown?
You just be with your friends and say outrageous stuff.
Right.
And then we're like, where did I come up with that? You know what I mean?
Correct.
And then that's the kind of things like, oh, well, I just need to learn how to do that on stage again, you know? Because when you first start to be a comedian, you're like, all right, I'm a comedian and I need to do it this way. And you kind of lose who you are before you became quote unquote comedian. So now it's like, 6 years in, you're like, okay, let me learn how to be who I was before.
Now, have you performed outside Stockton, maybe in the East Bay or Sacramento? Or
yeah, Sacramento. I'm in Sacramento all the time.
Oh, really?
I've done Sacramento Punchline a lot, Laughs Unlimited. I've been to San Francisco. I'm starting to travel more. I have a show in Nevada and Arizona, so I'm going out more now that after I hit 5
Nevada,
years.
are you at the Silver Legacy, or are you going to be in Vegas?
Silver Lake, I wish.
Oh, okay.
Give me Madison Square Garden right now.
Sure, no problem. No small task.
Yeah.
So, quick question for you,
okay,
though.
go
Okay, now, what would you say from your perspective? Is it a high degree of sarcasm? Is it a jaded sense of humor? Like, what would you find your irony, or what's your strength as a comedian?
You know what? Versus
if you're capping on friends and you're laughing and joking and just you're hanging out for you to think like, yeah, I'm gonna have fun with this.
I like
do this.
I like to be versatile. Like there's different styles of comedy. There's one-liners. There's people who are full of energy. There's people who are roasters. They'll make fun of you. So many different styles. I like to try to utilize all of them because it makes me feel versatile. If I needed to go on to making fun of a crowd member, go into that. If I needed to tell a dark joke, I wanted to be able to have those in my, so that no matter what the crowd is looking like, I'm able to entertain universally.
You can play
read
to the crowd.
room, you know.
You got to be able to read the room while you're on stage.
Definitely, you need all that because you may be hitting. Like I may get on stage and talk about how I'm doing so well in life. I'm like, wow, they are not feeling this. Everybody must be down. But you know what? The other day, my dog died. Boom, laugh. Oh, okay.
Exactly. And
we're
it's
gonna go
crazy.
down this way,
Right.
with this crowd because they're just feeling this type of way. So you just gotta feel their vibe, and then kind of you want to hear this stuff.
Yeah, it's crazy because you could be a musician and you could be in your room all day and you could practice and you could come up with a great song, but we can't do that. We need to be in front of people in order to find out if it's working.
Yeah.
You know?
True. Stay sharp too at that. And I know you asked earlier about a 10, 15 year plan.
Yeah.
I didn't get to answer that. I would really want to tell you guys
Please.
about my 15-year plan. I don't plan on doing anything unless it's done by me. So everything is going to be a self-funded, everything. See, I feel like comedians forget that the world we live in, we're all comedy. We all love the stage, the mic, and people kind of live on that and kind of like, especially new comics, kind of focus on like what shows they're getting booked on, But I was always thought, I love comedy so much, and I can't keep working my full-time job and doing comedy and not sleeping none. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna make comedy pay for my comedy.
Okay.
And so that's where I'm at now. I haven't worked in like a year. Been doing the radio. Yeah, there's times where it's like, oh, I'm barely getting by on some bills, but I always make it work. It's naturally always making it work. So I'm making comedy pay for my comedy. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm living my dream at the moment as we speak.
Sure.
So every day I just wake up, do I love new opportunities arise, and I'm just gonna keep following my heart. I don't dream about being in Hollywood. I don't dream about being on movies. I dream about producing my own movies. I dream about MF Comedies having this new, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Anything I do has to be me, or we could collaborate, but I don't dream about making it I just dream about another day I could wake up and keep hitting the stage and doing what I love.
Right.
Whether that's talking to y'all on the radio, inspiring others, you know, I've been doing that a lot. I found that that's one of the things I really love to do, inspiring others, like whether it's to be healthy, follow your dream, etc., whatever, you know, uplifting everybody in your goals, whether you're running for councilman or I don't think you're running for councilman.
Councilman? What do you
councilman?
run for?
Or whether
What's the councilman do?
They make policies for the city of Stockton.
Oh, the city. Oh, okay, yeah, that's less than their smaller positions.
So whether
Yes,
it is.
yes.
It is.
You jumped ahead.
It's kind of like entry level.
Do they still have council? They still have council members positions?
They do, as a matter of fact.
Oh, they didn't get rid of those?
No, but they did cut their salary to $16,000.
Oh, wow.
Oh, that's hard. That was terrible. Actually,
Oh my goodness!
yeah,
is that it?
that
Is
was
that
terrible.
it?
Yes.
16,000.
Now you're getting serious.
See,
though.
now
That's terrible.
I'm making more than the councilman. See,
No, listen,
I'm
man.
like-
The mayor, listen, some of these cities, the mayors might make like $500 a month. You know how many meetings and tens of hours they're putting in just to put in for $500 or $600 or $800 a month, and they're the mayor or council members? Like, you got to be kidding me.
That's crazy.
So
I think that's funny when a
$500
young comedian has just said, "Wow, I make more than council."
$500 a month. No, seriously. If we scored a good gig, we could get $500 for doing an hour.
Yeah, it's true. So, and then doing stuff like that. So I'm my own brand, I'm getting my merchandise soon within the next 3 months. That's really gonna lift me off to where I don't even stress about bills. You know,
Right.
like I don't even have business cards yet, and I feel like I'm fine. You know, I'm making by. So as soon as I get T-shirts, merchandise, socks, hats, all that stuff, I'm gonna be living
Socks
my
too?
dream. Yeah, socks.
Hey,
Socks.
Marcelis
Socks,
Flores
wristbands, wristbands,
Keep your toesies cozy.
earrings, anything. It's a business, and I want to run it so that I'm able to enjoy it.
I want to wear some Marcelis Flores socks. That's going to be so cool.
They're gonna be dope.
They're gonna have his face
wait,
on 'em,
wait
though.
for
You
it,
want-
April.
No, Ted, you just want a pair of socks, period.
Well, of course, but
Well, Ted,
if
you
I'm
know
gonna-
what? You were gonna be the first one to get some when I get my socks in. Don't.
Oh, okay, cool.
He wants
Yep.
them to be yellow and purple, though.
There
Yellow
you
and
go.
purple. To match the tie. So listen, I got to tell you though, there's no greater time than now to market yourselves and increase and maximize potential and opportunity because of the electronic and the social media and the way you can become.
Oh, yeah.
You can get that exposure that, I mean, a decade ago wasn't available, let alone
Exactly.
for many years past. So objects in motion stay in motion. Keep hitting it from multiple angles, and that younger generation that you guys are, you're much more savvy, and you've got the social media down. You got followings, you've got interaction, you know how to interface it and maximize it. So it's a wonderful opportunity. It's also my experience. I was an actor for 10 plus years, and
Where'd you act in? Hollywood, LA, or SAC?
both on stage in New York, on stage in I wrote and directed, did theater, TV, movies.
That's where I started.
Nice.
Yeah, where and
And in school, my acting classes, I
Yeah.
used to sing piano. I used to draw. I was artistic before I was artistic.
Yeah.
I was already doing all the artsy stuff. Like I always was into this stuff. Music. I actually want to start rapping. Like
So
once,
are you a triple threat? You can sing, dance, and perform?
Once my comedy has funding, I'm comfortable. I'm gonna invest into rapping as well. So that's a hobby that's waiting for my comedy to take off a little bit more, so that I can invest in that alleyway. And pursue.
Yeah, there's
that
no
as well.
rappers in the business at all. They're all gone.
What do you mean?
It's wide open. Yeah, nobody raps at all. There's no competition for that.
What are you talking about? My Oh yeah, yeah. That was sarcasm. Sorry, it's taking me some time to
That's my
hop on
comedy.
this. To hop on your sarcastic trains. I see
Yeah.
you guys are full of it.
I'm jaded and very sarcastic. So
Well,
Hollywood
And he's
life.
apparently
yeah, you want to talk about Hollywood? Trust me, that business. It's after honestly, I was in it for about just under 15 years, and I realized what a fantastic hobby. But you may never actually truly be financially rewarded or compensated for the effort, the time, the dedication, and the excellence that you bring to your craft. You may not, and that's as an actor,
Acting.
which is your fate is less in your hands than anything else. Because if you can work the crowd and you can rise and you can create opportunity from what you can create on stage live, but an actor. It's not. There's no guarantee for what you do, and I've got friends of mine in the business now that 30 years later they make less money currently than they made 5, 10, 15, or 25 years ago, and that to me is a really bad business model.
Yeah.
It's just not a good business model. At the end of time, when you're making less money 25, 30 years later, you're in the wrong business.
Yeah.
To me, and so that's why after 15 years, I'm like, you know what? it's time to move on.
Yeah, if they were a
It's-
business, they'd be out of business.
Yeah.
You know?
So just not, and not to be a downer, I just, actors are much more vulnerable.
You depend-
They're less.
yeah.
They're less capable of creating opportunities.
Yeah.
That's what
than a
it is.
comedian can. There are multiple comedy clubs you can get on. You can get a mic. You can get a following. People
Yeah.
I remember Brian Regan. I remember that guy made me laugh so hard. He was super funny. Here we are 25, 28 years later, and the guy's stuck in there long enough and hung in, and he's a name headliner that has a career doing it. So so it's much
He's
to that
hilarious.
credit.
See, comedy is cool because the least you know, least that comes out of it is that you're doing something you love. Period. So it's never going to be a loss if you truly love it. It's never
Sure.
going to be a loss, and then. Eventually everybody gets there to the point where you're funny. So in 10 years, 15 years, whatever your learning curve is, hey, you'll get there.
Hey, Rodney Dangerfield. You know how many times he changed his name? You know how many times he went through his career? That's another guy I used to hang out with in New York, in Los Angeles. His Dangerfield. He changed his name multiple times. And until he finally got that I get no respect act down, then he became Rodney Dangerfield. But he was in the comedy clubs dragging around for 10, 20 years before he finally worked out a routine that really worked.
Oh, that joke. What is that joke? My wife and I were happy for 15 years, and then we met each other.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorites, man. He was great.
Man.
He was awesome. Real
And
funny.
Brian Regan's he's one of the people hardly do clean anymore. It's hard to find a clean comic, but he's been doing it. Jim Gaffigan's another one that does clean comedy. That's super
How
hilarious.
about, have you ever heard of Jim Conley?
Jim Conley.
Jim Conley. He's been doing it now about, I'm telling you, at least
I've probably
20 plus
seen him.
years. So one day, we were roommates in Los Angeles. I went to a screenwriting class at UCLA. He signed up at the same time at the extension program. He went to a stand-up comedy club class. And from there, he began and built a career. And he's toured, overseas with the Army. He's USO. He's on stage and working down to Southern California more than up north. But
Nice.
I know he's been up here as well on tour. So he's made a career, and we were roommates at one point. And
Nice.
his career took off, and mine is
is
here.
There is a lot of
steady. It's
opportunity.
steady.
There's a lot of actors who actually start doing stand up just to get side work into their acting pops because
Absolutely.
that will pop quicker than acting, especially if you are business savvy. Like if you are a networker, you will get booked on so much. There are people who are not funny making a lot of money right now.
Yeah.
Would you agree with me? Mm-hmm. If you are,
And it's
Because they're
courageous.
schmoozers.
I mean, to
Yeah.
overcome, who touched on it lightly, to overcome that fear and that anxiety, to get out there and be vulnerable and to throw out material that you're working. Nobody's doing comedy that has hired writers. So you've got to come up there. You got to come up with your own material, and you got to work it, and you're risking, and you fall flat on your face. And we've all seen bad comedy at its beginning stages, and certainly you don't see headliners that are stinking out any place. So it's
Unless you're trying
it's a
new
risk.
stuff, you're taking risks.
No,
Sometimes
my
they-
first whole year was like bombing. My entire first year, like I get laughs here and there, but it was
Takes courage, though.
it was basically bomb after bomb after bomb after bomb, and then like it was crazy because I first started, so in my head I knew I was getting better. Like I was like that was great because it was better than the last show because it was better than the last time. So
Right.
now that all my stuff is just like decent.
Only 5 people walked out instead of the whole show last
Yeah.
time.
Exactly. Or I got better with that line. And now, what I'm saying? Even right now, like now I really get excited when I try new stuff and it works right away. Like stuff like that excites me now. Not as far as I'm getting better. Not saying that's a huge one. Little things like
Is it
that.
funny, little things
Fillers.
like that?
Little things like that
Yeah.
because telling jokes is like a song. You know how when the beat drops, it's just like nice. It's like the same thing. As we tell our jokes, we're like, it needs to be fine tuned. We need to
Oh, it's a
gather
rhythm, a
everybody
total
in
rhythm.
and bring it up, and then boom, drop the beat, and that's where the laugh is. And then it's just awesome when you're just on stage and the beat is just flowing with your jokes, and then it just flows, and then it's just like amazing. You get off stage and you're buzzing, and you can't
Yeah.
sleep that
Yeah.
night, and you're like, "Where's the party tonight?"
But what we have over a great song is that we're able to go back and add to that track. You know what I mean?
And
if
every
we come
song's
up with
different.
a great
Yeah.
tag, then
Every
we can
song.
add to it. And now the song is even better. And then we increase it again, and it gets even better. We come up with a different tag. Or we could take a smaller joke and then add it to that
It
other
has a
joke,
whole
and
life.
then we have a super
Yeah.
joke, you know?
Life, yeah.
Or you know what else is tons of fun? Is like you have one joke, right? And you like the joke, but every crowd, you have to set them up for it differently. You know that it has to get real quiet and everybody has to be like in tuned for this joke to work. So it's just fun, like knowing, because I have some jokes that are really funny, but they're really hard if everybody's talking to get everybody in tune because they need to hear every word for it to work.
Right.
So when those hit, it's like I'm a beast. Like I just did that. Like they were all talking, I shut them up and everything. Did y'all see that?
There are certain tricks to do that too. Like if you're trying to get people's attention, then you get real quiet. You start delivering quieter, and people are like, "Oh, what happened? What's going on? Is the music gonna come on?" And they start listening. Like, "Oh,
Yeah.
he's still going. All right." And then you're engaging with them now.
All right, how about hecklers? Anybody had like the drunk person in the room that's just obnoxious
I
and
love
just
heckling.
terribly heckling?
Yeah, I mean, I did open mics in Stockton for 3-4 years. You know how many
love
fights
heckling.
I almost got into? Like, are you serious? I had to take off his shirt and just like, I'm a hog. And he said he was going to beat me up. And I was like, no, this isn't going to happen.
I love it because no matter whether they're aggressive or non-aggressive, with the power of speech is so strong. Words are so strong.
Sure.
You could turn a whole crowd against one person and make them feel bad about what they're doing, like they're in the wrong, you know?
Right.
You just got to find out the right words.
Yeah.
So if you could do that, find those right words to make it seem like, dude, what are you doing? But funny at the same time. That's how I deal with my hecklers, because then they feel bad, like, oh, you're right, that was... And then everybody's ganging up on them, laughing at them, like, dude, sit down. So if you could find that fine tune, like, it's great. But sometimes every day, like, maybe when I'm real tired and it's an open mic, had a time where I couldn't even search for something to say to a heckler, so it was just like, oh, man, you got me. You lucky.
Sometimes you just steamroll them, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just either avoid them or like what I do is when I'm engaging a heckler, I don't actually look at them.
Right.
I talk to everybody else, but I'm still talking about them, because when you're not making eye contact with somebody, they can't really say anything to you, you know? So that's what I call steamrolling. So
Yeah.
if you said something, I'm gonna address you initially, I'm gonna make fun of you, and then I'm gonna start talking to everybody else and then going like this, you know? Just pointing at you, but everybody's staring at you.
Right.
Because I'm looking at them, and then they go, well, yeah, this guy over here.
And they're in on the...
He sucks.
Yeah.
as long as everybody else is laughing, you're winning against the heckler. You
Right.
know. So if the heckler says something and you say something nobody laughs, you have to be like, just play onto it and just get everybody laughing. Because at the end of the day, that's our jobs. And then you just feel like you're winning. And dude, he's starting to give up already. You know what I'm saying? You're like, dude, you didn't want to do that.
I try to keep it light, though. I don't want it to escalate into anything, you know?
Right.
No, I don't keep it light as far as going off on him. Like, I keep it respectful, though. I'm not going to say, like, man, F you or shut up, none of those words.
Yeah.
But I'm going to have fun with you. Like,
Yeah.
I'm going to joke around about how you're acting inappropriately at a comedy show. You know what I'm saying? That's
Right.
stuff that's going through everybody's mind either way.
So it doesn't throw you. You just utilize it.
Yeah.
You deal with it and utilize it, so that becomes a strength, not a, oh, man, this guy's ruining my show. It's,
Yeah.
you know, what a
'Cause
terrible
now
thing.
it looks like he won.
Right.
But when you play onto it, like, wow. Like, this guy is really, you know what I'm saying? You
Right.
are really, you know, and then just call out the things that he's doing that everybody is witnessing him doing, and then make him laugh and agree with you about it. And then they kind of feel like, that's right. I've had that happen to me in San Francisco before. This dude started talking stuff. I was like, what? I was like, I just did something. I never get disrespectful with people. I make it silly, but never disrespectful, because that's how you get in fights.
Sure.
Like, you know?
Sure.
So I'm always like silly, and people will respect you afterwards. Like the hecklers, they'll come up to you like, man,
Yeah.
buy you a drink or
Right.
something. And that's how it is. If you're a comedian and wanting to know how to handle a heckler, get them, but be respectful. Like,
Right.
don't be
Have
like,
fun
F
with it.
you.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
none of that. Like, just be respectful, because they have to.
Because when you start getting
respect
aggressive, that's
people,
when they start taking it way too personal.
yeah, when
Sure.
you respect people and treat them with respect, like, they will reciprocate that.
Right.
If not, you know, other people's got your back. Like, oh, you ain't
And
this.
that's the stuff that goes on YouTube.
Right.
All my
bad
stuff,
stuff.
all
Yeah.
my videos, like, because I don't like to burn material, you know, like anything that I'm working on, I don't want to put it on YouTube. So anything, I take a video camera to every show that I do. I record everything. So if I have a fun moment, something that's off script, or you know, that is crowd work, then I'll post that, because people are seeing content, but it's not burning material. And those times when those come up, that's fun. I was like, now I got new content. This guy right here had something to say, and now I'm going to put you on YouTube.
Awesome. You're never going to say it twice again, so might as well.
So I'm going to issue you guys a challenge because the position I'm in as a local business owner, I've been involved, and obviously as an elected official, of course, there's new challenges and demands. But because you guys are working a craft and you're on stage and you're not afraid to be in front of a crowd, your community also needs you to reach out and talk to and mentor that next generation. So go to the high schools, talk to kids, talk to classes, engage in career discussions, and motivate them to just be active and be involved in their community in a positive way. So staying away from drugs, staying out of the gangs, and finishing education so that they're hireable in multitudes of careers. Yeah. Which yesterday there was a graduation at the Department of Juvenile Justice. It's the first time they had a program here in San Joaquin for some of these at-risk youth that are incarcerated for whatever blunder in life that they've made, a bad choice, and they've completed a 6-month pre-apprentice program. They now have an opportunity, and they were saying yesterday, any one of you, when you walk out of here, can go to any union hall in the state of California, up and down and all around, even across the country for that matter, because the programs are very universal, and you can get hired. You could be hired. You want to walk in and say, I'm ready to work. And they're looking for you. So there's career opportunities out there. As I appreciate your guys' career that you're doing, but also I want you guys as a voice in the community, whether it be on radio, whether it be when you're doing stand-up, and reaching out to your community, to go back to your school. We all went to high school here. Go back to your school and talk to that next generation about careers, choices. Yes, marijuana is being legalized, but guess what? If you're testing positive for marijuana, you're not going to be employable. So I don't care how legal it is. How about how important is a paycheck versus getting high? So there's a lot of messages that need to be brought out there, and I'm going to ask you guys that you're the next generation. You're a younger generation than I am. So I'm encouraging you and ask you to get involved in your community. It makes a big difference.
Definitely, Tom, and that's something that I'm totally looking forward to doing as far as utilizing my voice to help people's day get better, bring hope. That's a huge thing that I want to do because I know some people are down and out sometimes. I myself get down and out.
Sure.
So I know those days that I hop on Instagram and say some inspirational stuff, some people may be like, you know what, I really feel that. As far as going to the schools and everything, talking, I have not yet done that. That sounds like something exciting. Maybe next time you go, you could invite me and I could give a little speech.
I would definitely include you in it for sure.
And you could give me some tips on how to better myself in giving those speeches because that's something I would totally be excited to do.
Yeah. I'm going to go. I had volunteered to go out to the Department of Juvenile Justice and be a guest speaker just to talk to them. And I used to do it when I was your guys' age. I used to come home and on Christmas Eve, I would go year after year after year. I knew a counselor out there. So on Christmas Eve, I would go there and spend 2 or 3 hours just talking with the kids at the CYA and talk to them about life choices. This isn't racism. It isn't all these things that you're being a lot of external factors. It's your choices that are going to make a big difference in your life and what happens next. And so talking with the director yesterday, she said, absolutely, I'd love to have you out there. So come on along with me, listen to the message that I have to give, and personalize it, make it your own. Because you know what? They're going to want you back.
And that's what
so
it's
you can
about.
go back because they got nothing but time. They're doing time. So I might say something that resonates. You might say it's the same thing to them in a different way, and it resonates to that person that I wasn't able to get through to. So it's just all positive message, positive actions, positive results. Good choices, hard work will always lead to success. So these are basic conversations that you have, and you never know what it takes to get through. And I've been somewhere, and somebody will come and say, hey, man, I was incarcerated. You came out and talked to us on Christmas Eve. I remember what you said. When I got out there, I never did it again. I made a good choice. I remember you saying that to me. And 10 years later, I'm like, you remember that? You remember me? Yeah. And he's like, yeah, man, I remember you coming out and talking to us. So, if that's one person that I helped have an influence in their life, phenomenal. It was worth it. So just awesome. A little call to action for you guys as well.
Super important.
It's that next generation, man.
Super important to learn a trade, hone skills, anything like that. There's a comedian, I don't know if you guys know who Reggie Thugdork Galindo is. No. But he was going down a bad path earlier in his life, doing drugs and things like that. And he started doing comedy, and that really saved him. And now he does a lot of shows in Stockton, and he gets hundreds of people out. You know? He has a very good following because he helps out in the community too. So that's something that we need. We need comedy, especially in Stockton, because there's so much negativity going on in here. So people, it's like support your local comedians, support local comedy, come out the shows, because if people don't come out, then we get very discouraged. And there was a time when before you moved here, there was like a year or two where we didn't have anything in Stockton. There was no shows. There was nothing.
No.
So now we have the Deliberation Room. We have the Ave.
Oh, one more thing. We have the Superfish Open Mic that I do every Wednesday, and that mic is awesome, guys. Like, it's all about great energy in the place. You get your Superfish teas, Thai tea, all of that stuff, and it's a place in the community to come to just kick it. It's free. Enjoy jokes, and it's a workshop for us comedians in Stockton.
So you know what I was just off the top of my head, and I'm sure everybody has their own individual pages, and I'm jumping in as well because I know we're wrapping up on time. But everybody has their own pages and they're promoting things. But you know what'd be fun is like a Stockton comedy hot sheet, so that get a couple of administrators that can post up whatever's going on tonight, whatever's going on tomorrow night.
That's an awesome idea.
That's a wrap. We're wrapping the show.
All right.
Wait, cue it up.
We got
finishing on a high note.
And that's the things that council people don't come up with right there. This
Man,
guy's
vote
on a
for
higher
this
level.
guy.
Stockton comedy hot sheet, and it just do something. Yeah.
Oh, right.
So have a little fun with it. So one last plug on anything you guys have going on. I really truly appreciate you guys being here. I'm going to make a point to catch your guys' shows and support, because I appreciate what you guys are doing and what it takes to get there, and having a personal connection now. It's good to be a part of your support network.
Hey, I appreciate that, Tom Patti. I have the February 18th show, my first birthday show, dude. I'm
turning 17.
And that's at the Avenue on the Mile.
Yes, it is at the Avenue on the Mile, and doors open at 8. Show starts at 9. I have my March 2nd show. I call it my Triple Deuce show, and that's going to be on a Friday at the Cactus Bar in Woodbridge, California.
Okay.
And that is my quarterly fundraiser for the Libertarian Party of San Joaquin County. And then I have my Wednesday mics at Superfish. So those are open to all comics, and it's an open mic forum, and at the end I bring in the headliner from wherever he's from. Yeah, from wherever. And we just rock out at the Superfish. That's signups are at 6. Show starts at 7. It's a lot of fun. Thai tea. I'm doing something new with that. I'm going to get a sponsor here soon. And the first 15 people that come into Superfish will get a free tea. So look forward to that. That is every Wednesday. Laughs on the Ave, February 18th, Sunday, and the Triple Deuce, March 2nd, and that is a Friday.
If you offer a pair of socks, then Ted will show up at that show.
and I'll even pay for the ticket to get there.
All right, Nick, how about you? What's on the hot sheet for you?
The hot sheet, I'm just going to promote the Deliberation Room. It's February 23rd with Sam Talent and my good buddy Sal Trujille's featuring. He also runs a room here in Stockton at the Shadow Steakhouse, so you guys find him online too. So we could learn where all these shows are. You guys could come out. And that's basically all I want to promote right now. And then you can find me online at Nick Larson Comedy on Instagram. I always post my posters and stuff, so you guys know when shows are coming up.
Excellent.
Oh, real quick, my social media. On Instagram, it is Marcelis, Marcelis, followed by 3 underscores. Yes, 3 underscores. And on Facebook, Marcelis Flores, and you could get all my information off of that. So, and that's Marcelis Flores. Flores is spelled Flores. Thank you, Tom.
Okay, and as disclaimers go, let me be very clear that only because we are doing a little comedy thing, I'm joking about the city council members. I know every one of them personally. I know the work and the sacrifice, and it's a very thankless endeavor and dedication to that all of them make. And we have exceptionally capable, competent, and very influential people that are working our city council, with including the mayor's position and in our neighboring cities and all about. So I was only joking and jesting.
You heard him a couple times. He did a little.
Yeah, they were
sarcasm.
Hurt.
You
they
guys.
Were hurt.
I thought you were serious about running for city council.
That was very diplomatic.
I said you were running against Susan Lynch.
You already launched it.
I already launched it. I said, "Oh, okay. I'll call Susan Liz and tell her that you're not running."
Let her know it's not happening.
Okay.
All right. So Ted, are we covered? Did we get everything?
We covered everything. We had a wonderful show. Thank you, guests, for Marcelis and Nick. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
It was a wonderful show. Thank you.
I appreciate
and thank
it,
you,
guys.
Governor Don, for all that you do all the time.
You're quite welcome. Thank you.
Cheers, guys.
Peace.